Today on Vintage Steel Garage, I'm going to show you how to replace the inner and outer track rod ends on your Porsche Boxster. So today is a good day, parts have arrived for the Porsche. We've got outer track rod ends. So these are the outer track rod ends. Like that. Lovely item. Aluminium. Weigh nothing. So that's the outer track rod end. And we've got inner track rod ends. Now this is inner track rod end. This is what's been causing my suspension woes. Basically what's happening is this is fixed in the rack and this is moving up and down. And instead of just moving like that, as the suspension's moving up and down, you're getting a click as this is moving up and down, so there's wear in this joint here. So we're going to replace both of these, either side, and we're also going to replace those. So that screws into there, like that. Wouldn't you have thought they'd give you a new lock nut? So I'll have to use that off the old one. So that's going to be on the outside, that's on the inside of the rack, replace those both sides. Set them roughly to the right length, and then I'll just need to get the tracking set afterwards. So let's get one side off and I'll show you how you replace one side, and the other side will be the same. So let's get the vehicle jacked up. Say hello, Bailey. Say hello. No? Okay. So we've got the car jacked up. This is the outer track rod end here that we're going to replace, and this is the inner one. And you can see that screws into the end of the steering rack. Now if you want to watch one of my earlier episodes, you'll see where I've done some fault finding to establish why I've made this the failure point on the inner track rod end. To be honest, as you're driving the car, it's clicking low speed. Sounds like it could be the bottom joints, sounds like it could be the top struts, and I think a lot of guys have replaced quite a few bits throughout the suspension and still then been perplexed that they've got this suspension rattle. And it was only by driving it when it was warm then I noticed I got this rattle here, but have a look at the earlier episode and you'll see all about that. So what we're going to do, crack this nut off here and then unscrew the rack from here. I've already pulled the gaiter back so you can actually see that knuckle joint just there. Get the camera in a little bit. You can see this knuckle joint here, so I'm going to take this off and get to work on this. To undo the ball joint you need 18mm spanner. If it's spinning round you just need a little torque drive like this to hold in the actual end of the ball joint, and then you can undo with a spanner. Mine's not spun, so I've got the nut off. I'm not reusing this. If I was reusing this, you can get a special splitter that'll just take it out, or some taps to here, taps to the top, and you can get the actual ball joint out. That's what I did the first time on a previous episode, but I'm replacing this now, so I can just use the tuning fork to remove the ball joint. There, ball joint removed. So we've got the track rod arm off now, so this is the outer track rod and the inner track rod there. Now the critical thing before you unscrew it all is to get the length right, and it's going to help you when you do come to do your tracking of your vehicle. The important thing is where this nut is on here, so I've just backed it off very slightly so I can unscrew it and then we can rebuild it. Similar, I mean the only item we're keeping off here is the actual gaiter itself. So that's the old track rod off. Well, nearly off. Bit of a long thread on it. So there we go. Old track rod off. What do we do with that? Bin it. Now what we're going to do, we're just going to make a measurement from this nut as a comparison and write that down. You can do it with a tape measure, but I've got these calipers, so I'm going to use these. So that is 40mm. So take this nut off. gaiter off. So there's the old one. Now that's the old one, that's the new one. Got to say, actually, it doesn't feel a lot of difference, but I think if we just get this in the vise, if we have a look at the old one in the vise, it is weird. I cannot now duplicate the suspension when it was warm, whereas before there was quite a noticeable click. Let's hope we have found the problem. Right, so there's the old one. I don't need that. I was actually wrong, there is a new nut in the kit, so that's good to know. So there's a new track rod end, and there's some grease which got a little pretty picture, which I think you can just about see, which shows a little bit of grease on the threads. So let's get that on there. Right, so this is just a little bit of grease on the threads, and this was, I need to put the gaiter on first. Nearly forgot that. So there's the gaiter, there's the clamp, need a pair of pliers for that. Gaiter clip back on, get the nuts on. So this needs to be set at the 40mm. There we go, that's sat to the right length. A little bit of grease on here, this is probably some sort of anti-corrosion grease. With the dissimilar metals of steel and aluminium. Screw this in. And there we are, a couple of minutes prep on the bench and it's ready to go back in. Knew how to joint this end, knew how to joint that end. What I'm going to do at this end is put a little bit of thread lock on here when it screws in and then torque that up. Well, I'm not going to be able to torque it up, I'm just going to torque it to the torque setting of. So we're now ready to put the reassembled inner and outer track rod ends back on. I don't know if you can hear in the background, but there's a bee flying around here the size of a donkey. So I may be stung in a minute and then die. Anyway, so I'll put some thread lock on the end there. So I'm going to screw this into the rack. I must admit, I'm not sure I can feel a bit of play on the actual rack itself here, which is a whole new ball game. So I may be doing more work in this area. So watch this space. So if I screw this in, however, these inner track rods, these are only £10 each, so it's not a big deal. If it turns out not to be this, it's just another thing that sometimes you've got to do in the process of eliminating problems. Right, so I've got the inner end in, just need to tighten that up. I've got the track rods back on, tightened up this end, torqued. Couldn't get the clip back on, so I just used a big cable tie. That's back on. This is in place. Just going to torque this nut down, tighten that lock nut up, and then we're done. Put the wheel back on. Okay, so a bit of an update. It's going dark now. I've replaced both sides, and I think I've found a problem with the actual play in the steering rack itself, which is a bummer for me, but good news for you, because I'm going to show you how to replace the steering rack. So I'm going to have to go for a test drive. I still think I've got the problem, then do some research, and we'll probably have another episode replacing the steering rack. Update on the Porsche. I've probably done 30 miles in it now, and pleased to say no more suspension knocking. So obviously it was the inner track rods, so I'm pleased with that. That's all sorted, so I'm all fit for Le Mans. So one other bit of feedback for you: the wheel bearings on the Porsche, that's the inner bearing, that's the outer, the roller bearings in between. I've taken them apart, had a look, and you can see here on the inner race, you can see all that damage at the top there, and that was making that rumbling noise. So another success. Suspension sorted, wheel bearings sorted, anti-roll bar sorted. I've also had all the dints knocked out of it by a PDR dint master, so that's, what is it, paint dentless repair, that's what it stands for. So no painting, very pleased with that. So next episode is back onto the dart, and we'll see if we can get that up and running and sort it out.